Hello, I'm Owen Lane and welcome to the greatest albums of the 1980s. This series looks at some of the best era-defining albums that made up music in the 1980s. And today we are going to be talking about the Human League's album Dare. But before we delve into the detail of the album, here's a bit of background information on the Human League. The Human League are a synth pop band that were formed in Sheffield in England in 1977, and they originally consisted of founding members Philip Oakey, Martin Ware, Ian Craig Marsh and Philip Adrian Wright. Before the successes of Dare, the Human League released two albums, Reproduction in 1979 and Travelogue in 1980. However, before Dare was even released, the Human League lost two of their founding members, as Martin Ware and Ian Craig Marsh both left in 1980 to form the fellow synth pop band Heaven 17. Lineup changes were therefore made, with lead singer Philip Oakey recruiting Sheffield teenagers Joanne Caffarel and Susan Ann Sully, who, despite the fact that they had no previous singing experiences, and despite the fact they were still at high school, were recruited to be the backup singers to Phil and the Human League. Without further ado, let's get into the album in question. It was released in the UK on the 16th of October 1981 and subsequently released in the US in mid-1982. Dare marked a perceived change from both Reproduction and Travelogue, as both albums had a relatively electronic feel to them, but were changed to a more kind of poppy sound that was in Dare mostly. Dare speaks a lot throughout the album about love and romance. As we expect, throughout the 1980s there was a new kind of what's known as a new romance movement, and a lot of the songs in the album, especially towards the end, with the likes of Love Action and Don't You Want Me, speaking about love and romance and the pros and the cons about love and romance. But also throughout the middle of the album, there's a bit of a sinister, kind of darker turn to some of the songs, such as Do or Die, I Am the Law, and Seconds. However, the album also talks about hopes, dreams, and desires, and the kind of things that we all want in life. The opening track, The Things That Dreams Are Made Of, consists of talking about luxury and expensive goods that we all as human beings strive to have, which is in the line New York, ice cream, TV, travel, good times. And especially Open Your Heart, which is the track that follows The Things That Dreams Are Made Of, also talks quite like an advert for expensive and luxurious things that people value highest in their lives. The song The Things That Dreams Are Made Of also features two very different characters throughout the lyrics of the songs. One of them is Norman Wisdom, who was an actor and a singer-songwriter who appeared in various slapstick comedy movies in the 1950s and 1960s, and also Johnny, Joey, and Dee Dee, who were all three part of the American rock band The Ramones, who you will probably remember if you were alive back then for the hits Sheena is Punk Rocker and Blitzkrieg Pop. The only instrumental track on the album, and the opener to the second side of the vinyl record, is Get Carter. Get Carter is, like I just mentioned, an instrumental track, but it is also the theme tune to the 1971 film Get Carter, which starred Michael Caine. However, it's clear as day, the biggest track on the album is saved right until the very end. Track 10 out of 10, Don't You Want Me. Don't You Want Me was an international hit almost instantly, reaching number one in various countries such as the UK and the US. Also enjoyed a lot of airplay, the video did, a lot of airplay on the relatively new video cable music video channel, MTV. Don't You Want Me also became the record label of Dare, which was Virgin Records, also had a massive impact on Don't You Want Me's successes. Don't You Want Me became the first number one single of Virgin Records, and Dare as a whole became the first number one album since Mike Oldfield's Tubular Bells in 1973. Dare can be seen to be a massive success, not just on the Human League. It's probably the album that whenever you ask somebody, name me on the street, name me an album by the Human League, 9 times out of 10 they'll say Dare. But Dare was also a massive album of the 80s as a whole, and it's still selling millions upon millions of copies to this very day. This album for me is something that is one of the first albums I look to put on whenever I am, whatever I'm doing. It redefined an era like no other before, and it launched and certainly massively helped a lot of fellow synth pop bands. Over the top of my head, I can think of the Human League helping launch the careers of obviously Heaven 17, Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark, Depeche Mode, New Order, all sorts of artists. And you can see that Dare is so successful. And the singles off of Dare, Don't You Want Me, Open Your Heart, Love Action, and The Things That Dreams Are Made Of, all contributed massively to that success. And that is why it can definitely be considered one of the greatest albums of the 1980s. And that concludes the review. That was the Human League's Dare in a bit of a nutshell there. Stay tuned for more of the greatest albums of the 1980s very, very soon. Thank you to everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed. And thank you to Synth and Sensibility for allowing me to use their track Hop, Skip, Bounce. Until next time, please look after yourselves. Please take care. And I will see you soon for more fantastic albums of the 1980s. See you later.